I'm Todd Harris. I'm co-founder and chief operating officer of Hi-Rez Studios.
Let's start by talking about esports and what your learning was from the very first World Championship this year.
We definitely learned a lot from the first World Championship of Smite. We came out strong because it was the third largest prize pool of all time. But we learned, I would say, the strength of crowdfunding because we were able to drive that huge prize pool through something called the Odyssey, where players were buying virtual items, and that funded over $2 million, which combined with our $600,000 as a developer gave us such a huge prize pool, which helped us put it on the map. So crowdsourcing works, although I'd say we also learned that players don't actually do it to get filthy rich. All the players that we talked to firsthand, whether they were from North America, Europe, China, Latin America, they do it because they legitimately want to be the best in the world, and they want to be able to compete in the sport that they love and actually earn a living doing it. So that was also just good to hear that firsthand from the players, and that frames kind of how we think about trying to put together an ecosystem that can support players so that they can play the game they love and also earn a living.
So how do you differentiate between the different regions going into next year's World Championship?
So for next year, we plan to have a league system that will run as the developer for both North America and Europe, and that'll be between 6 and 8 teams that are playing regularly in that league format. But things that we're adding for this next year will be additional regions, so specifically Australia. We're going to have an Oceania region, which will be managed by local partners down there that will allow teams from Australia and New Zealand to compete. And then we'll continue to rely on our publishing partners for the region of China and Latin America. So we set it up like a pseudo World Cup sort of format, where based on the strength of the region, they can qualify a certain number of teams. And all the specifics of that will be outlined in the fall of this year, but we expect to have an event that's at least as big as the first Season 1 championship.
And how big was that, both in attendance and in a number of actual gamers that were competing?
So we held the event in Cobb Energy Center in Atlanta, state-of-the-art facility. We sold out the facility, which was over 3,000 live attendees. We had over 3 million watch the event online via Twitch. And then as far as attending teams, it was basically 8 teams from 5 regions that composed the competition.
When it comes to sponsors, can you talk a little about what the attraction has been thus far since you guys just started and getting some sponsors aboard?
Yeah, having sponsors is key to throwing a great event. For our first World Championship, the title sponsor was Curse. They have a voice product which allows gamers to communicate in game. We use that for the SWC, so it was a really good integration for them and for us, and they were a great partner. Also, hardware manufacturers such as Logitech, Intel continue to be great sponsors of the event. So we'll look to step that up even more with Season 2, and I think that over the next year, whether it's Smite or other esports, we're also seeing kind of non-endemic sponsors, so going beyond just enthusiast hardware gear, start to get involved in the scene. So hopefully we can also form some relationships with some of those companies that are interested in understanding what esports are all about.
What role will the Xbox One play when it comes to esports? Is next year too early for that?
Xbox One is new ground. I think next year we will see some form of competition. I think for us, I would see it a little bit as a lost opportunity if we don't have some sort of competition next January, even if it's something like an exhibition match, because I think the appetite is there, but as you know, it really depends on the community having the appetite for the game. The developer can't force it. So after we get out of alpha and beta, we'll hold a few test tournaments the same way we did with the PC, and if that appetite is there, then we'll certainly support it as a developer, and I expect it will be. So I expect we will see an Xbox One presence of some type at next year's Smite World Championship.
We've seen Microsoft get behind Call of Duty over the last couple of years with the Call of Duty Championship. Have you spoken with them yet about the potential for esports?
We have, and I think in general, as an organization, they are really interested in esports, but of course they're also a large organization, so I think it's going to take time for them to figure out their strategy across the multiple games. But in general, what I've heard from them is nothing but support for esports in general, and of course, Smite being a MOBA, I think they see how popular that genre is, both in terms of players and esports on the PC, and so I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to work something out for them to be supportive on the Xbox as well.